2, adoption of the agenda, I have a couple requests for changes. One is to remove item M. Secondly, to make item 6A, the vouchers, move that from consent to the action item list. And finally, on 7H, to pull numbers 16 and 63 and talk about those separately at the end of our action item list. Numbers 16 and 63 on 7H, the personnel schedule. Any other changes or questions? I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the agenda with those 3 changes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Call to the public. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.1H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for a future agenda. The board requests that all comments be limited to 3 minutes or less, and that the public refrain from the use of speech or language that is offensive or inappropriate pursuant to board policy KFA. And our first questioner, commenter, Mr. Jessen. Please state your name and address for record.
Mr. President, members of the board, Paul Jessen, City Maricopa staff. I just wanted to come to the board and thank you. Last night we held the EDP Electrical District 3 electricity workshop. It was a conservation workshop on how people would lower their electric bills by saving money and sealing up their homes. It was a great workshop. We had 45 slots. We had 45 people sign up. We had 40 show up. And it was a great learning experience for residents of the city of Maricopa to figure out how they can lower their electric bills. They couldn't have done it without the MUSD support. We're used to the room, and especially Robert Ramirez, who's been back, who's back there now. But last night he was with us for 9:30, filming it, and we will have it replayed. We didn't broadcast it live, but we have a recording. We'll be playing that recording on the city channel. So just wanted to thank the board and the staff for allowing us to be a part in this first ever conservation workshop.
Thank you, Mr. Jessen. You have a request from Lorena Kelly.
Also, when you freeze our pay in our district, we lose our step, and that's how we get paid. We get paid by our years of experience and our education. And to freeze us, that means we lose those steps. So I don't know if there's any way you could grant us a step but not give us a pay raise or anything, so when we do become a we will, basically. So that's what we're, basically I'm speaking for the teachers in the hopes to get that unfrozen. I also have been hearing that there's a possibility of reducing our PE and music throughout the elementaries, and we know that that reduces our arts in elementary and also reduces planning time for the elementary teachers. So if you could, make sure to look at that issue when you go to decide. I also want to let you know that retaining teachers is directly affected, and the result is student achievement. With that retention of teachers, I know that I worked at Santa Rosa for 9 years. My teammate, Melissa Getskow, has worked there 5, and we were team members this year for 3rd grade, and we have the highest scores in the district, and it's directly related to our years staying at one campus. And so we hope that the district looks at these issues and supports us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board? Item 3, summary of current events by superintendent. Dr. Conlon?
Good evening, President Bartle, Vice President Anderson, members of the board. I'm Dr. Conley, Deputy Superintendent for Maricopa Unified. I would like to begin with recognizing our Butterfield Elementary staff and our students who have participated in the Nissan AWIM. I always want to call it the AWIM, and I think it's pronounced something different. But it's a partnership with Nissan, who is a community business here in Maricopa, who the engineers have come into our schools and have put real-life applications into science. So Ms. Janelle Hilden, principal of Butterfield, if you would please come up.
It's not just me. I'm sorry, I came to address you first. Good evening, President and members of the governing board. My name is Janelle Hilden, principal at Butterfield Elementary. And tonight we have 2 of our 5th grade teachers, we're missing one of them. And we have 2 of our students that were part of a team that created a project that we went to a dinner the other night that they were invited to in Phoenix at the airport, Hilton, which was exciting. And we got to have our students present there. So we have brought that presentation tonight to share with you. It's a good presentation, but it kind of explains what the whole program is about and what happened with our program at Butterfield. We also went on a field trip on Monday. We got special permission to go. And we went to the cruise grounds in Sandfield, and it was the most awesome experience. The teachers and I got to ride in the sports car and go from 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. So that was pretty amazing, and we just had an awesome time. The kids got to see it, and we just had so much fun with the whole event. Jim Irving volunteered this time, Dan Cowley, which is on his way there. Without them, we couldn't have done any of this. So we really appreciate all their help and their support. And I will turn this over to our teachers and students.
Thank you guys for letting us presentate our stuff here. We are from Butterfield Elementary in our hometown Maricopa, which is here. I'm Nathan Wallen, and this is David. Welcome. Next slide, please.
I think it's a quick
While we're waiting, we did the Nissan, the Nissan and Ingham helped us do this.
Description of the program. A World in Motion, AWIM, is a program that shows young students the role of math and science in the real world. Students are assigned a design project, and together with their teachers and engineers, they design a vehicle. Upon completion of the project, students are asked to present their findings in a marketing campaign.
The Butterfield project. Our class was asked to design a jet and go through the following steps. A, create a company named from it. B, develop an objective for the jet. Speed, distance, etc. C, design the chassis for the car. D, determine the placement of the wheels and axle on the engine. E, test drive the car in several different ways. And F, decide on the balloon and non-size.
The testing. The first test we did was a ramp test where we practiced the wheel alignment and we figured out which way the car would move and we have to fix it. Yes.
The goal was to go
Straight. Our track test, we were practicing the distance, speed, and how much load the jet toy could bear. We tried out a different balloon mountain sizes and we added pennies as weight.
And now on to our marketing campaign. So after we finished all that, we had to sell the car. So, as I just said, we had to sell our car to the company, AWIM. We had to create a marketing campaign using our propaganda techniques, which, for examples, is bandwagoning, repetition, patriotism, and other stuff. And then we also had to show off our car, which last night at UVK was our science night. And we were located in the library. We actually don't have it. Okay, so that's the end of our presentation. But first, I think we kind of wanted to show you how the car went.
We had, each of the teams had a poster board that they would set up and some of the judges would walk by and we would have to say our commercial and we would present our group to them and try to explain why our group was the best.
Well, this is actually her car.
This is we gave our car name, this is the Nugget Mobile, because our team was the Tiger Nuggets. And so this basically where you just design to this one. And right here is where we pump it up and we just let it go.
The car goes off of balloon power. We have to put a pump into the nozzle, and we pump up the balloon to a certain size. We have 4-inch, 6-inch, or 8-inch. And then what would happen is that when the balloon was letting out the air, it would create momentum in the wheels, and it created enough friction in the ground that it would create force, and then the force created work, and work made the movement. And if you had enough force for this, you'd get a lot of momentum, so you'd probably go far. But if you didn't have a lot of momentum, you probably would go very far because it doesn't have the traction in the wheels to keep a good friction.
Yeah, listen and do lots of vocabulary. From the engineers.
What are some of the prizes you won? Contest.
We got ribbons and medals they would pass out to us. We would get for display, marketing, and then the initial race. We would race our cars and there would be winners.
And Mr. Urban is one of our judges last night.
Yes.
What if you guys are cool?
We did some.
Generous enough to donate not only their time, but they did it for the winners. We had winners from each class. They donated T-shirts and bags, and they let us come on their premises, which is highly unusual with this high security. And also the Sunlinks Rotary the Sunlinks Rotary Club donated all of the medals for our winners. So it was a community effort. It was really great.
And Lisa had such a good time with us. They also said that they're hoping to send us out in action.
Can't wait to see you.
And on the back of the shirt it says that the proving grounds have been there for about 25 years. And while we were there, they showed off their new skid pad that they just made recently. Right? And what it is it's like not too big, but it's where a car can test they can put these training wheels on it. That sounds kind of weird. It can lift the front or back end of the car to show that if it's like in rain, how it do, and if it was in snow or ice. And they're old skid skate pad was a lot smaller, and then around the premises, they have these tracks, and there's 3-lane track that's about 8 miles long, is it? And the 3rd lane you can go as fast as you want because it has such a turn on a slope that it just keeps you going the way that it's supposed to go, and you won't crash. Thankfully. And then
Something that was really cool was one of the engineers were going through some buses, and on our school bus, we got to go through the proving grounds, and this was so that was really exciting.
Did you have any questions for Eva?
I don't have questions, but I will say I was a test driver for Nissan, that's why I put myself through college. So, yeah, it was pretty fun. It was wonderful.
Great job, guys. Thank you very much.
That was amazing. I have to tell you that is exactly what we want to see in all of our classrooms. That is learning in action. So a big thank you to our partnerships with Nissan, and I also know that there were other engineers involved. I know that an engineer from Texas Instruments, General Motors, and so it wasn't just Nissan. What? Just so exciting. I mean, that was vocabulary in action, and he understood it. Fantastic. Okay, on to the next amazing recognition. If Mrs. Becky Van Deen would come up front and center. Becky has been with Maricopa Unified for 37 years. So, don't break it. I would like to present, and it's very small compared to all the years and the time that you have spent in our district and the service that you've provided. Becky Van Deen, thank you for your 37 years of service. Thank you. I would like to say that she's worked in one school or another school, but I can recall that she's worked in at least 3 schools since I've been here, so she is a common face in many of our schools, and I know that our students and our staff love her dearly. So thank you, Becky. I would like to read an email that was sent actually to Ms. Wyant. And it is from a doctor that works with Banner Health, and here is the letter. Dear Mr. Winter and Ms. Wyant, Mr. Winter, our athletic director. Last Saturday, Dr. Seward, Padilla Rivera, Davis, and myself had the opportunity to conduct sports physicals for your student athletes. I would like to commend you both for your amazing students. They made eye contact, were engaging, polite, and were proud of not only their athletic ability, but also their academic accomplishments. Every student I engage has plans for college. They take extreme pride in their school and community. Congratulations for a job well done. We look forward to working with you and your students in the years to come. Respectfully, Dr. Beck. They volunteered their time to serve our students, and it only goes to show what an amazing partnership that we have in the near future with Banner Health. So thank you. I know that Ms. Wyant had a hand in organizing that, and thank you to the high school for preparing that. With that said, I would also like to acknowledge that the plans for college, the comment for plans for college, last Thursday night I had the opportunity to attend the award ceremony for our seniors at Maricopa High School, and this year we have the opportunity to provide over $2 million worth of scholarship money to our students at the high school, and that alone is noteworthy, and we know that our administration and our students and our staff are doing exactly what they need to do to get to the next level of their education. So thank you. My final recognition, we did attend the unification ceremony last night with all of our 8th graders. And I cannot commend not only our middle school staff, Mr. Veras, Mr. Abel, and all the teachers, but all of our 8th grade students. In fact, my next door neighbor was there, and I did not recognize him because he was so cleaned up and so stellar looking that I was totally astonished. So it truly is an amazing opportunity for them to prepare for their high school and their high school graduation. And I know many of you were there as well, so thank you for attending. That does conclude the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Conley. Governing board member activity reports.
I have some.
Take it away.
It's been a busy couple of weeks. In addition to attending the 8th grade promotion with my fellow board members, we also participated in the Maricopa Education Foundation Appreciation Dinner for all the teachers and staff throughout our district and schools in Maricopa, which really was an awesome event, and it continues to grow. And with my fellow board members, we were actually able to serve and help clean up, which for us was really rewarding. I was able to attend the secondary schools perfect attendance luncheon, and that's not an easy feat when you get into the secondary schools. It's kind of easier at elementary, but when they get into middle school and high school, it's much more difficult. And it was really nice to see the number of kids there. And we need to recognize the fact that Mrs. Ansley and Ms. Palmer really did a great job organizing the luncheons, not only for the middle school and high school, but for the elementary as well. And the Maricopa Education Foundation was really kind to donate prizes for these kids, so it was really nice. Had several activities at Pima Butte, participated in their field day, their talent show, award ceremony. Today, I also had the opportunity to go to Desert Winds for their 6th grade awards assembly, and need to ask Mrs. Tallman if I can get my name in the random candy awards for next year. And then for community events, I was out at the Relay for Life last weekend, and I have to say it was really a wonderful thing to see the presence that MUSD had out there. We had our district, 3 sites, I think, and then we had Saddleback Elementary and Maricopa Wells, and it was just awesome to see the presence and to show the community how much our schools really want to be involved in, and what a great cause it was to be out there. And the last community event I did attend was the Banner Health grand opening. I did have an opportunity to speak with one of the coordinators out there who's working with Mrs. Wang, and they're actually looking at the possibility of bringing a health bus to the school sites so that parents that don't have insurance can get health care for their kids, which is really something that I commend Banner Health and Ms. Wyant for really working on. And I hope we can continue to move forward with that and maybe coordinate something with the city to get the transportation for these families so that they can get to their appointments. That's all I have. Are you sure?
Yeah. I did all that.
Wow, that's amazing.
I did go to Desert Winds today and play with the kids, and that was fun. I was doing fun stuff.
Yeah, I had a chance to attend the first science fair at Butterfield. It was truly outstanding. I can't believe how many parents were there and how excited they were about what was going on. It was just, a really good success. Also, they didn't tell you, they said they got invited to a dinner. It was a annual dinner by the Society for Automotive Engineers. And they were one of 5 programs asked to present. One school from Phoenix, the other 3 were from Polytech, ASU, and University of Arizona. And I think our kids were better than me. But the kids were just thrilled. Polytech actually was there, they built an airplane. ASU built a lot of cars. So it was good to see that exchange with our kids and the university kids and how exciting they were. And I think Dr. Conley hit it on the head when she talked about the and the teachers were thrilled because I can't say enough about Krista and Kelly and Les, because they incorporated all core standards in what those schools did. We met on Monday with representatives from Nissan and the society. Nissan was so excited they committed to the third grade next year. They also, well, they'll do that in the fall, fifth grade in the spring. We will meet with Volkswagen. We think will commit to do Desert Wind. Nissan is going to talk to Portertel to pick up all the other 5 elementary schools. So it's really sort of taken off. And again, we can't thank as well as Dan and society for what they've done. And the thing that really sold it for staff was the excitement they saw in our teachers. They said they've been in a number of schools and kind of when they didn't quite see that would get involved. So I just want to applaud everybody. Of course, Dr. Mueller, when we started it, I mean, a year or so ago, just to let you know, what they think of the school. It was interesting when the kids made a presentation at the society. The engineers said, we would like to tour too. They were told, no, it's just for the kids. So, but anyway, I just, really exciting time. And I felt, as you did, so proud of our kids in our district. And as you saw, and both of those kids promised they're going to go to middle school here. So, again, that's what retention is all about.
Thank you, Mr. Irving. Any other comments from the board? Information items and work study, Dr. Conley.
I would like to present to Mr. Rex Sherry and Mr. Greg Mann for the Culinary Arts Work Study presentation, and I do see that they have students with it as well.
I really appreciate the opportunity to speak before the board tonight, everyone else in the room. It's always been a privilege for me to come here. I think this is my 3rd or 4th year speaking in front of you about the accomplishments of the culinary program, specifically our culinary students. Our theme has been this year, we are excellence in action. We're going to try to demonstrate that for you this evening about the accomplishments of our students and actually how that's driven our curriculum this year, how we actually develop it, deliver it, and execute it. It's had a huge impact on what the students have done this year, had a huge impact on how we do that, how we approach that. We've taken a whole, basically thrown the whole curriculum out and started all over again. And I want to acknowledge my friend and colleague, Greg Mann, who actually stepped in a month before competition back, and we actually never missed a beat on everything. So, Greg, I want to personally thank you for that. Okay, let's get started. Going with our theme with excellence in action, we wanted to start by acknowledging, back here, by the way, this is Alexandria Martinez and Kelsey Usher on her right. This is Alex right here at the ACF competition. We actually had 5 medalists in that. And to my knowledge, nobody in the history of the state of Arizona has ever done that. So you compete against the standard. And the gentleman in the forefront on the left-hand side, to give you an idea of what these students are exposed to, this gentleman actually runs the food and beverage operation for Pebble Beach. Not just the golf course, but Pebble Beach itself, the entire complex. So these students are actually under pressure. This is one of the judges, the guy on the right that you can barely see. He's a master chef, and there's only, to my knowledge, about 30 of them in the whole United States. So having said that, I want to kind of take you through this. We're going to show you some examples of the kids' work and how that ties into the curriculum. These are the 5 medalists. It's Armando, Kelsey, Taylor, thank you, and Jessica and Alex. Thanks, guys. It's hard for me to see that up there. But anyway, They were the 5 medalists this fall in the ACF competition. That really sets the stage for their ability to earn scholarship money in the springtime. So this first dish is by Armando. I'm not going to go into it, but all the kids, with the exception of Alex, actually did another dish. She's going to talk about that in a second. Had to fabricate their own chickens. They had 1 hour to put out 2 plates. It's under a lot of pressure. The judges are standing over them the entire time. To get a medal in this is very, very difficult to do. So let me just go through it. Go ahead. Kelsey, you want to talk about this one?
That's a very good example of the higher level thinking that these kids are engaged in. You're up this much.
My internship actually is something else in chickens since I was in second year, and I had to make croissant chickens in the rack of lamb, which was a goat cheese sweet potato mash, and it was suspended with yellow colas. And I personally love pigs. So scary, but so excited at the same time. That feeling where you gotta do it, and there's no stopping. So it's just right. You just gotta do it. But that was my dish.
And this one was Taylor's. It's another chicken dish. Again, they had to fabricate, as you can see. They're under a lot of pressure to get all this done. What I'd like you to notice is how clean their work surfaces are and how organized they are. They have to do this all under pressure. This one is Jessica's, another chicken dish, another complex dish. This is kind of gets into where it started driving our curriculum. What happened when we started developing these programs for the kids to get into these competitions, it just brings them to a whole other level of excellence. So basically what happened is we started tying in, because of the competition, they have to develop their own menus, they have to have their own equipment list, their ingredient list, their timelines, their recipe list, how all the steps in the ingredients. This all ties into the writing piece. And basically what happened is this ended up being an entire project for our entire first and second year students, because it ties in so many of the different core requirements, the math, the science, the reading, the writing. What happened then was this fall, CCAP, which is another competition the girls are going to talk about, they tied in with the Dairy Council. And CCAP and the Dairy Council got together with the NFL, the Fuel Up Play 60 thing, and they started this program for a scholarship, which Kelsey's going to talk about here in a minute, for $5,000. We put together a plan, the students put together a plan, it was all student facilitated, for recipes and an action plan to go out and do nutritious demos, and we actually did those at the grades, a couple of the grade schools. And they rewarded us a $1,250 scholarship for our supplies. So now we're using not the school's money, but the Dairy Council's money to do this. So what happened was, the kids went around, I'll show you this in a minute. So what happened was that we tied that into the Dairy Council and the nutrition side, and we went to a website called the Papaya Head, right? Papaya Head website. And we actually had so many hits on that, we shut their website down. So now the person that runs that website is consulting with us on how to improve the delivery of their system. So this again developed into a project. We used to have a project called Menu Wars. We took all the stuff I'm describing to you now, put that together and made that a project, incorporated the menu project into that one. So now you're talking about the nutrition side. As if you notice the pictures as well, we collaborated with graphic arts and Mr. Ventrone, and photography with Mr. King, and also Darren Conley with the video journalism to tie this all together. So this is just a really good example of what CTE does in general. And then here you see the photography side of it. These were the actual burritos, the nutritious burritos that the demo we're going to show you in a second. And this was actually the final pictures that we're going to go in the recipe book. They didn't have quite enough of them, but it just goes to show you how we collaborated as a CTE group and used that money that all you guys gave us and tried to put that to good use. I'm going to go ahead and have Kelsey talk a little bit about this. This is actually the, well, if you'll play 60 demo.
So we had to do a number of demos where we took it to the elementary school and then we showed kids a video of how much sugar was actually in a Coke can. And they did love that. And then as we showed them how to make the nutritious smoothie, we showed them that only there was a tablespoon of sugar in that and nothing else.
In a 48-ounce serving.
Yes. And we also did breakfast burritos. We made everything before we went, and we had preheated it for the entire school population, and then we served it to the teachers, and the kids got all of the sample smoothies that they could all enjoy while they were watching the presentation. It was quite entertaining. The kids loved it. They were so much fun to work with. And I mean, there's something you get out of it just working with the younger kids, and if you can make them understand it at this young age, I have great hope for the future.
And by the way, the broadcast journalist students actually came in and videotaped this as well too. So this was a collaboration with CTE throughout the entire program. Now we're getting into CCAP competition. This is Alex is on the right. This is Taylor. Taylor was our top 10 junior, and Taylor actually could not win the money yet, but actually was able to be assigned to a mentor chef now for the next competition coming up this fall for her senior year. And I'm just going to have Alex talk a little bit about what she won and what she did here.
This is my second year. I have done it my junior year, competing in many competitions. It was mostly my teachers that first got me started in it. I've always had an interest in competitive sports, but I never thought anything about cooking. And Mr. Sherry had once mentioned to me if I ever thought about competing. And to me, it was like, yeah, I'll compete. It was fun. And then things started getting serious, and then I heard I could get scholarship money, and after that, it was just something I wanted to do. And the second year, this year, I competed, and it was such a rush. There's top chefs, and they're just looking at you, staring at you. Every little thing you do, you can't get away with anything. They're judging you on every little thing, and it's difficult to do, but it's so much fun at the same time. I enjoy it. And I ended up coming out with a scholarship that I can use for CAC, and then also for another, I came out with two. Another one I can use for any other culinary school I want to. And it's just that I fell in love with cooking. It was something I kind of got my mistake into. I had chosen my freshman year that I wanted to take an art class. And to me, I just did culinary, not even thinking about it. And I ended up going to the classroom, building little cubicle kitchens, and I was shocked. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But my dad and then my teachers, they've just been a great help. And if I could do it again, I would. I love it, and I'm so thankful for CCAP and Jill, Mr. Sherry, Mr. Mann, and Mr. Lopez. And I'm going to continue my culinary career.
And Kelsey, this one's you.
So I actually work in the over-65 closet. Actually, there's supposed to be a raffle, right?
Correct, yes. Basically, she had her name and hat so many times for the demos and stuff that it increased her probability to win. So we were pleasantly surprised when that happened. So.
And for me, my culinary side was after the economy went down, my dad became a semi-truck driver. So it's just me, my mom, and then two siblings. So my mother works every day till 7 o'clock at night. So it's pretty much, if she cooks dinner, we do it together. And I was never really into it. It wasn't like an over thing. And then as time wore on, I was like, okay, I like this, I get this. It makes sense to me. So I joined the culinary program. My first year, I attended at Renown High School. And the culinary program was 2 days a week. We bake maybe once every week, if you were lucky.
already have. This was the baking competition. Kristen and Taylor could not be here, but this was actually the first time any student in this competition in the state finals from Maricopa High School actually finished everything. This is very difficult. It's 6 hours long. It speaks for itself. I was tired, and I wasn't even doing anything. So as you can see, that's the display that they did, and they both took 5th and 6th place respectively. They're both coming back next year along with Armando, so we look forward to another strong contingent in that. So let's just move right along. We also had the Skills USA Savory State Championships where Jessica took 6th, Kelty took 9th, and Alexandria took 12th place. So that really in a nutshell shows you the level of excellence that these kids actually reached. Gray and I have both been in the business a long time, and I can tell you every one of these students up here, within the next 5 to 7 years after they graduate and they continue on, can command $100,000 easy. I have no doubt that that's true. They have the skills, they have the drive, they have the intuitive nature, they have everything that it takes to make it happen. So my whole message to you here today is really, we set a standard of excellence now. We're rewriting the program that's based on that kind of competition that we see that drives these kids to higher levels. And I'm not going to read this to you, but it really does all these things. And this is just one example of what CTE does in general in all the departments. Last but not least, I must tell you, if it wasn't for all the people that support the program, the board, all the administrators, Rick, my director, June, everybody from Kay who make sure that all our bills get paid, to Karen and the grants, all of that. We know that our programs cost a lot of money, but we wanted to show you that you're getting your money's worth. And we wanted to let you know that even in the toughest of times that we've had this last couple of years at this school, MUSD 20 is excellence in action. So thank you all very much.
Mr. Sherry, next year when you come back, can you bring back some samples?
Sure.
Should we take a recess to eat?
I know, I was
That was pretty good.
Okay. The next item on our information items work study is our update on the budget recommendations. So what you have been given in your packet is a comparison to what the budget committee recommended to what we have crunched numbers and then provided in a similar worksheet. And then on the next sheet was a little bit different format. I really want to preface this with the budget committee. Their input was absolutely invaluable to our decisions and what we started with and the philosophies that we started with. So as you look at this, and as you know, and I throughout this entire process said that the budget committee somewhat gives you the philosophies of where we need to start, and then it comes back to our organization. And when we look at our actual numbers of what we can do and the formulas that we receive from the states and the different pots of money that are allocated to certain areas, this is what we've come up with. As you see, some areas are a little bit more, and then some areas are a little bit less. So I am going to now ask for questions, and I will also refer some of those questions to be answered to Mr. Roush, our business director.
Board comments, questions?
I do have a couple questions. I just need clarification. On line 2 where it says advertising, you have 60,000. Is that it's out of the budget? That's what's taken out of it? That's a savings, right?
Yes.
It's 60,000 in both, but it didn't say minus. That's a savings in the budget?
It is, what we've done is, in the last couple of years, we've allocated, well, let's take last year in particular, we had an amount allocated to HMA, the public relations firm, and we also had an amount for the billboard, and both of those areas have been recommended to be eliminated, completely out of the budget.
All right. And then line item 8, is that, you have 110,000, is that your predicted savings?
That is the predicted savings per year, and it will increase as we get more, after the initial funding is done with that enhancement.
But that's just based on what the company has said we could save.
That is my understanding.
So that it may not be that much. Go ahead.
We know that a couple things about our energy systems, our utilities. Our utilities are among the highest in the state, in Maricopa, the rates. We know that our square footage costs are among the highest in the state. We also know that we have manual controls on almost all of our facilities, and in order for us to get better control and limit usage, we need to enhance our systems. About 2.5 years ago, we had a presentation by a company that wanted to provide an ESCO contract, wanted us to pay them about a little over $2.5 million, save $3 million over 15 years. So one of the company subcontractors that they use is one of the same subcontractors that we use, MP Bass, and the representatives are here. They estimated that savings of 20% at that point. In order to get in there and actually have that savings amount, you actually have to do it. So those are the estimates. We're estimating if we do some of the projects this year that we can save close to $100,000, and a lot of that is not running the equipment while individuals are not in the buildings. We have 360 days and 180 days of students in our buildings, and if we optimize our efficiencies in those other 180 days and the other 16 hours a day, then we can save some money. But we need enhanced controls in order to do that.
Okay. I know it's on the agenda, future, more of that. So all I want to know is that still just an estimate from the proposed company, correct? There's no guarantee.
There's never a guarantee.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
That's
Okay, and then number 7, I would like that revisited, the 1%. If we can squeeze out money to do the controls, we need to focus that same energy on squeezing out.
And
I would just like to see it revisited.
Well, and just to give you some additional information, I mean, you all know that there's certain pots of money that we can use for certain things.
Right.
And so when we look at the amount of capital that we have to, enhance our energy savings, and that's where the pot of money comes for these energy enhancements. I will say that working with the business department, with our auction liaisons and the auction tribe, as well as Ms. Amick, who has put in hours and hours along with Terry Monticello, we have the opportunity to possibly have an increase from impact aid, which is about $500,000, which would provide that increase. We can use that anywhere, which we're hoping. We have our fingers crossed, and we'll probably know within 30 days to provide that increase to our staff for their raise.
I just wanted to make sure it was going to be
Really?
The budget committee had some really great suggestions, and they were able to find that. So I would just like to have that revisited.
And I do want to clarify, there was some maybe misinterpreted information that, and I can take responsibility for this as well. If you look at, let's say, item number 4, the academic coaches, and the 300,000, when Mr. Roush gave us the bottom line of 2.1 million that we needed to get to make sure that we balance our budget with the loss fee override and the loss of the additional funding. That number, that amount, that 300,000, he had already removed, so it did not, it would, if he would have said, we need to get to 2.4 million, that would have been the correct number rather than 2.1, because he had already removed that $300,000 and put it into the title grant that we know that can cover it. So I think that there was that just miscommunication and misinterpretation there.
Dr. Conley, a couple of comments. One is, given our tight time frame, we have certain things we have to do, at the next couple of meetings in order to get this budget passed. If there are issues, for example, Mrs. Anderson would like to see that $250,000 revisited, I'd encourage you to get the board the line item budget so that we can come to you with suggestions, not just say, hey, go look at this again, and then we're in the same place at our next board meeting. But let us find out where that $250,000 is that we want to cut elsewhere to allocate for raises or whatever the case may be.
And just to clarify your question, when you say line item budget, so I can best inform our business department, which area are you specifically looking at?
Well, in this case, Mrs. Anderson wants to find $250,000 to put back in the budget for raises, right? So in order to do that, we have to take $250,000 out from someplace else.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So engage Mrs. Anderson in that process so that when we're at our next meeting, we don't have to start over as far as that negotiation or that dialogue about what's a good and valid place to cut and what's not, Mr. Rush.
That's a good observation, and it's a well-meaning thing to do because we, not just teachers, but the entire school district staff doesn't have raises from the classified staff also. It's important to note that we lost $3.6 million this year. And we've cut for the last 3 years substantially. We're at the point where to find $250,000, we have to cut positions. There's no other money available to cut positions right now. So I just want to make that understand that there's no other place to cut. Okay.
Well, I don't see the transportation cuts on here that the budget committee recommended, and there was like $500,000 that was.
But it's
so I just
specifically
want to
states
see
on
it.
here that the transportation cuts aren't legal.
Yeah, you can't.
We have to spend a certain amount on transportation.
Right, but it was over what was allocated from what we were given.
We did, when we did our internal eliminations, we did go with the 6 to 8 bus monitors. We are, I've lost the word, redoing our transportation routes. But when we look at our formula for funding transportation, there's only a certain amount that we can cut without losing our state funding.
Right.
And so this amount represents the amount the bare minimum that we can do without losing that state funding. So again, going back to the philosophy of what the budget committee needed to do, they gave us the framework of which to work, and we've gone back internally and now have said, okay, here's where our funding and our formulas actually work with our state, with our district. So it's certainly not discounting the work and the philosophies that the budget committee has recommended.
And I guess that's my concern. We all know state budget and education for I mean,
Unless you
visit
revisit.
all you want.
Right. But we could revisit kindergarten, I would just like to revisit and see what we can do. All the options, please.
A couple other comments. One is, as is proposed, we are giving a district-wide raise to the tune of $165,000. It's disguised as eating additional medical and insurance premiums. So I regret how we've done that, but I think that's important for staff to realize that in virtually any other business environment, you're paying a percent, and as that percent of the costs go up, so does your contribution to those premiums. So the district has taken upon itself to pay for the additional health insurance costs that, as most of us know, are ever increasing. So I don't think that should go unnoticed.
Again, I won't get it. I think there are other ways to look at enhancing staff. You know, we've talked, and I've talked to you, Mr. Becker, Mr. Roush, about getting into the concept of rolling over sick days and paying them out, which is much more cheaper than what's here. I think, again, staff just want to see an effort. I looked through the bylaws, and what amazes me, the policies, there's section H called meet and confer. Nobody uses it. I think that would be great to come up with a meet and confer with our staff on certain items and give them some ownership into it. And I think those are the kind of things they'd like to be able to do in lieu of money. But we could say, okay, you're going to meet and confer, we'll meet and confer on these 4 items, and we'll look at rolling over your 11 days at the end. Those are things that I think we could do to let them know they have ownership in the process. So I think when we look at it, I like to look at those alternatives as opposed to just the 1%. I mean, not going to somebody $400. I think the other thing is just looking at, and I know sometimes it's a nasty word, a bank for just a top-tight incentive. I mean, there are ways to look at it. I know some staff have, I think there are ways to incentivize much cheaper than the $250,000 that we can maximize staff. They just want to know we care, okay? And I think the benefits is one. I think the sick time is another. I think the meet and confer to give them an actual place at the table is another. That's not going to cost that much. So I would like to see us look at that as alternatives to let them know we care.
You know, and I will commend Mr. Beckett. He's really started to dive into that research with looking at our sick days, looking at incentives for, per semester, if you don't use your sick days, what would a bonus look like? And also a sick bank for being able to donate a sick day to then help out our staff that have unforeseen circumstances. And that's desperately needed in our district.
And Lord, correct me if I'm wrong, but there isn't anybody sitting up here, nor is there an administrator out there who hasn't turned over every stone through this process in hopes of trying to find additional funds, in particular, to pay for raises for our teachers. This is a simple math equation as it stands right now, right? We are, for the 4th or 5th year in a row, cutting millions of dollars from our budget. We're cutting north of $2 million from our budget, 85% of which is staff, salaries, and benefits. So the math is such that you can't, it's very, very, very difficult to cut $2 million from that and increase the cost of the 85% of that pie. But they're trying desperately to make that happen.
I mean, and all of you know that not only our teachers, our teachers are taking on extra duties, our support staff, our administrators are doing extra. We're down to bare bones right now. And I am extremely hopeful with Dr. Chestnut. I think he has a great track record for being able to have an override passed in the districts that he's been in. And ultimately that's where we are. It's got to be very deliberate. I would be the first to tell you that it's getting to the point that we're all very tired, and when we get tired, mistakes are made, and our children suffer.
Well, we're losing good teachers.
Yeah, and without due respect, these teachers haven't had a raise in too many years. And they have stuck with this district on the hope and the promise that we would get them a raise. We look at our packets in the last 2 months, and we are seeing resignation and resignation, and we are now losing those good teachers, those teachers that have been with the school since they opened. And we can't afford to lose those good teachers, and other districts are absorbing the costs of healthcare increases and giving raises. And I know that we look at the numbers, and I look at this number here from this one sheet that said what our fiscal year budget was for fiscal year 12 and fiscal year 13, and the amount changed is 1.925. So if that's the dollar amount that we need to cut, and the recommendation's 2.1, why can't we take that difference and give them a raise? Or am I not looking at the right numbers?
No, and you are, and I'm going to speak on behalf of Mr. Roush. Mr. Roush's sole responsibility is to make sure that we don't overspend and get in trouble with the state. And when you look at any great business director, they make sure that we don't get in trouble. And we've had numerous conversations that as soon as we know how much money we're actually given, what our enrollment looks like, our staff will be the very first ones that see the increase. But it is really our responsibility to make sure that we don't get in trouble with the state and we don't have clients.
Our staff's not sticking around waiting for that.
I know. I know
They've
that's
spent
true.
lots of money on in-services and training and to somebody else's advantage, and that's, we need to rethink that. Maybe we don't need to put the money into in-services, but put it into salaries.
We went through this budget committee process, right? A couple of us were on that committee. So if there are items that didn't make the short list, then is there a second tier of recommendations from the budget committee that said here are other areas where we can cut? Staff has gone through this over and over and over and over again. They're not hiding hundreds of thousands of dollars that we could be giving to staff for raises, right? So absent any specific suggestions of, here's $250,000, I think we ought to move from pot A to pot B, we've got to move forward in the process.
Yeah, I would agree. Again, part of the problem with the budget committee, there was a $500,000 difference in what we thought we had to be did. So if you had that, then there was plenty of money. That's where that came out. But then like it was pointed out, the transportation flow, and we actually doubled counted.
Well, we were able to do $2 million is what we actually, if you go back to what was presented from the budget committee in the last packet. So it was extra.
We thought we had, which turned out
It was
not to
extra,
be.
right.
Yeah. So, again, my concern is we all need to lose good people, but we've got a number of key programs that we acknowledge and I think, the blended learning and are on the line. I mean, we're making progress, I think, for standards. We haven't even begun to talk about, we don't have the technology and machines to even do more standards. I mean, you can go on and on and on about
We don't
something.
have enough folks to teach.
We don't have enough folks to teachers. Our science department is saying they're not going to come back unless they're teaching science labs before microscopes.
Okay, so let's, I know, we get it. It's fine.
I don't want, my concern is, I don't want to cut into what's already bone to what the state is doing. I just think that's not a smart decision to make.
Any other comments? Thank you, Dr. Connolly. Also, thank you to you and the Budget Committee. I think it's also notable that we're in the process of cutting $2 million from that budget, none of which has come from RIFs. So, thank you.
The the next item on the agenda is the Rancho El Dorado parcel. We did receive the market comparability report, also along with the title clearance. And so the next step for the governing board would be is to put it as an action item and review whether or not that needs to go to an RFQ for a request for quote to see what type of uses that land could be used for. And then once you receive that, it would be whether or not you want to be able to sell that. If you do want to sell that, you have to put it on the electoral calendar for the ballot.
And there's a cost for that.
There is, and I know it's different with each election.
It also depends on who the lessee or the purchaser is. Because if it's a municipal, there are some exceptions, right, in that bracket. So it's not a guarantee that we have to go to the electorate, but that is a potential route if we decide to go that route.
Right. The legal, we don't have to go to electoral question if we want to sell to a municipality.
Right. So, yes, that is not this step. This step here is for us to give Dr. Conley the direction to craft an RFQ for our review and approval so that we can go out and solicit, let folks know that we've got this 30-plus acre parcel that is available and see what kind of ideas people have as far as its use and how the district can benefit from that. And to go back a few dozen steps, I don't know if we've done a good job articulating this in the public side of the meetings, but the district has 31.5 acres of land in the Rancho El Dorado, between Rancho El Dorado and the lakes, which is a great, tremendous, valuable asset that has been collecting weeds for several years. So what we want to do is to find out what the highest and best use of that is, assuming it's something more than a weed farm, in hopes that we can leverage that and possibly get some funding as a result of that to help with everything else that we're talking about budget-wise. So.
Thank you. So just to clarify, on the next board agenda for our first meeting in June, it will be on as an action item for you to discuss and approve an RFQ. Is that correct?
Is it RFQ or is it
Request for quote.
Anybody opposed to that? So, good. Thank you, Dr. Conley. Number 6, consent agenda, items B through G. Is there a motion to approve?
second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6A, I had a couple questions. One is on the AZ K-12 Center vendor, Dr. Conley. Voucher number 1246. We're spending $890. It looks like it's all for the SEEP, for some sort of professional development relative to one person's national board coaching. And I'm wondering, is that commonplace? Do we do that for all of our candidates, or how that works?
No, sir. The principals at all levels were given, let me back up. As you know, we have a strong national board certification process in our district. Thank you to Dr. Robinson and the work that she's done. As we have teachers going through this process and improving their teaching skills, they are engaged. They are required to attend a certain amount of the sessions for the National Board Certification, to do certain weekends for their professional development to prepare for this certification. And they are costly. We do invest in our teachers, and the expectation would be that for any teacher, we would be willing to pay $250 per teacher and give them one professional day. This amount is over that, and it has been addressed internally.
So the costs are valid to the vendor, and we just need to figure out, we need to pay the vendor, and then...
To keep good standing with the vendor, we will have to pay the vendor, and the expectation is that that person is then reminded of the $250 maximum limit.
So they reimburse the district for the difference?
Yes, sir.
My second question is the voucher for Goodwin's for furnishings, furniture for the Performing Arts Building. This is a brand new building that I recall we've approved a lot of money for things inside those walls. And this isn't, there seems to be a pattern of additional fees affiliated with furnishings inside those walls in recent months, in recent board meetings. And this one's to the tune of $15,000 for chairs. And I know that the last meeting, I think there was one for a few $1,000s for stools. So, why is that? Did we not sufficiently purchase that product initially? And also why would this be coming from M&O instead of from the capital fund?
I am going to defer to Mr. Rush.
Thank you for the question. If you can see on your voucher, the M&O is a different fund number. M&O is 010, unrestricted capital is 620, and soft capital is 625. So the first account code identifier would tell you that it doesn't come from M&O. We have established a $200,000 budget for equipment. That's the direction I was given by Superintendent Clark for amounts to come out of soft capital. And that's the only fund that it can come out of. That was identified quite a few times and is on every monthly financial report that was the amount of our budget. And this is equipment or furniture in this case that was in the building. We finally got the bill and we're paying for that. But it is within our established $200,000 budget. So, thank you.
And so this was part of the initial purchase. It's just taken them the better part of a year to invoice us?
Well, we only recently opened, we opened the building in November. We ordered a lot of these things in December, January. We got them in February or March or sooner, and the billing follows that from the company. So we can only pay when we get the billing. So if the billing is 2 or 3 months later, we can't pay them without the bill. So the services or the equipment has to arrive first, and then the bill has to follow.
Okay. And then how much of that $200,000 budget was the balance there?
I'll have to look and get back with you on that.
Okay. Who owns that line item? Is that you or?
Pardon me?
Who owns that budget?
Yeah. We had a little bit of a committee, but I'll go back and get that information for you on the budget. But yeah.
Can we revisit that and see if it needs to be adjusted? Amount?
Well, I don't think there's hardly any other purchases left to make. So, but I'll give you a recap on that.
Any other? Thank you, Mr. Rush. Any other questions on the vouchers?
No,
1246 and 1248. I'd like to make a motion that we approve item 6A.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay? Any nays? Anyone not approve? Motion carries 5-0. Item 7H. Discuss and approve personnel schedule, which includes resignations, reclassifications, terminations, non-renewals, stipends, new position requests, employment ratifications, leave of absence, FMLA requests, and administrative renewal. Mr. Beckett, welcome.
Thank you, President Barlow, Tom Beckett, Director of Human Resources, members of the Governing Board. We have in front of you tonight the personnel schedule. There is one correction I'd like you to please make, please, number 35. If you would please change the final column to MA plus 30 instead of MA plus 60. That was a mistake. And I believe Mr. Barlow has asked us to number 60 and number 63 cool. But I trust that each of you received revised personnel schedule.
Any questions on personnel schedule?
Yeah, I have a question on 62.
Yes, ma'am.
Who made that recommendation?
It was affirmed by our new superintendent, Dr. Chestnut.
So Dr. Chestnut is the one that recommended
And
this.
equipment assist.
Does that affect the budget in any way?
It does, and the budget implications, remember, portrayed on the front, you listed that figure of $17,448. That included, I believe, 6 reclassifications and that additional monetary amount that would be due to the deputy superintendent position.
And just, yes, Mr. Rubin.
I fully support. I was just, that doesn't raise our head. Okay.
Correct. Just to clarify, that the current Director of Assessment Accounting is a Director of Assessment and Accountability position is absorbed.
That's
Yeah.
It's just a title change.
yeah, but fine.
It's, just to clarify, it is not just a title change. It is losing a B Director position and adding an A Director position. So there is an impact to the budget of approximately $5,700.
I'm still, I just have a concern that we need to get our 2 teachers' raises.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. Madden. Any motions?
So moved.
There's a motion to approve item H, with the exception of 13 and 63. 16 and 63. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Opposed.
Motion carries 4-1. Item I, I'm going to recuse myself as these deal with.
Are we not going to discuss items 16 and 62?
We are at the end of the agenda.
Oh, I thought we were doing it right after.
All right, 7I. Is there a motion to approve expense voucher 1247 and voucher 1249?
So moved.
Is there a second? Who seconded? Leslie? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 4, 1 abstention. Oh, it's back.
Item J, discuss and approve energy management enhancement system. Mr. Roush.
Again, Reservoir Emerson Ford, Aaron Roush, Director of Business Services. I've given, again, much of the same information about energy enhancement, business controls, and what they do for us. And we have around 500 manually controlled thermostats and systems that are really very, very, very hard to manage, especially with high demand fees, equipment that small maintenance staff, equipment that is running all the time, that we don't think should be running all the time. And so we've looked at how do we, with that, we know that our rates are among the highest in the state. How do we cut our utility use so then potentially we can put more money in the general fund? We've visited this several times, so I've provided, again, the information. Been working with folks from MPBAS and Fort Constello, our maintenance coordinator, to put together there's some potential timelines, proposals. You can see that the actual cost is a little bit less than what we continue to estimate if we review all the projects. One of the things that we thought we talked about doing, not to commit all of our money, is to try and go after the, i.e. the low-hanging fruit, the big energy users, energy hogs, I guess, of our buildings. And the projects that we were looking at is to finish the high school, which just we've never fully got finished with the energy web-based control systems. And then looking at, we have, for instance, Maricopa Wells, which has outside doors, every classroom, not the hallways. So the design really creates very, very efficient utility use. And then our next biggest campus is Desert Lynn Middle School and Butterfield. Our cost per square foot, as I discussed with MP Bass and Jim Poncello, we've got E3, and it's just high. It's hard to control. And what hurts us even more is the demand fees, because once you get over a certain use, just the demand fees then kick in and it's even higher. So what do? We try and control it. How do you best control it? There's technology out there to control it. That's what we've been looking at for 2 years. I know a lot of other school districts are looking at that. They have ESCO contracts come in and say, you know, we can do all these controls for you, but we're going to charge you quite a bit more and make a profit. And instead of, for instance, they were saying, you know, we'll save you $3 million, but we'll charge you $2.5 million to do all the enhancement controls. But we're not talking all the enhancements, but we're talking the majority, which is the heating and cooling of electricity. And there are other controls there. But again, we saw the presentation. There's just systems out there that make it quite a bit easier. I've got, again, representatives from MPBAS here. If you have any questions of them, Mayor Poncello, who works every day with this, every single day, so they're here to if you have questions.
I have a couple.
Sure.
First off, the money that would be spent would come out of what fund?
Come out of a bond fund.
A bond fund?
Yes.
And second, I've been to a lot of these schools, and if we did this, would it, it's like some rooms can be like freezing cold, and the teachers are wearing mittens, and this is in the summertime. And then other rooms could be like a sauna, and they can't adjust it. Is this going to help regulate so that we can have even temps in those rooms, and it's?
Let me have the experts come in and talk to you about that a little bit. What it does is, I'm going to say yes, because the controls are enhanced, and we can even control off the phone, if you will. You go to that room, you control it off the phone to see.
Okay.
You know, but I'll let our experts talk about it.
Before they come on, Aaron, before they come on, one of the schools was, it was Butterfield. You've been in Saddleback, right?
Yes.
And you've been in the multi-purpose room when the air kicks on and it sounds like a bowling alley?
Yeah.
It sounds like a bowling alley.
Right.
Would this help with that?
Probably not.
Probably not.
No.
That was my other question.
Controls don't fix everything.
Okay.
And so, I mean, there's airflow issues in some buildings, mechanical issues and so forth. Just a little background on myself. I worked for school districts for 20 years in the air conditioning side of it. So I've been on this side of the table, and I totally sympathize with you guys trying to keep staff salaries up and so forth. I've been on the receiving end of that myself. And so, you know, controls don't solve every air conditioning problem that's out there. That's not what it's there for. The biggest thing I think that can be done with this system is turning them off on the holidays and the breaks. Instantly, you know, if we calculate, you've got 210 calendar days in your school year, and we assume that the thermostats are already programmed for weekends off. But that's a valid assumption. You got 37 days that there's nobody in school. And there's no way these guys can go around and adjust 487 thermostats for Memorial Day. So come Monday, you're going to have no students and no staff in these buildings, and you're going to have approximately 2,000 tons of air conditioning running with nobody in the building. And that's the single biggest place you can say that in the schedule.
You can't have them turn it off before they leave the building.
The program of thermostats are not supposed to, that's the intent of the thermostat. It is not, will not adjust it, but their program, right? The program of thermostats.
Yes.
They've got it set for,
some of the schools, we can set them off for the weekend, some can't, some just have a simple adjustment.
Honestly, in my experience, teachers have other things to think about other than turning the air conditioning on.
Who's going to put money in for a raise? They might be a little bit more interested in flicking that switch.
Right, right. Well, it's much easier to manage from a central location, and that's just a fact. You know, it is. The other area is in temperature control that you mentioned. How many teachers, if they can't adjust their thermostat, you figure out how to work that way. How many of them have it set down to 72 or 70 in the classroom is not necessary?
Actually, they don't get to control their classrooms. That's why some of them are wearing coats and mittens in the summertime. Because the room next to them is burning up and they need the air. So that's one of the issues that concern me, is that to spend this amount of money, if it can't help adjust those temperatures. And the other thing too is that I understand the advantage is that you could keep some of the systems off, like in part of the school building, and where they are having activities, let's say at night, because we do have a lot of rentals in our schools. That they'll rent the multi-purpose room, and so you want to keep those lights on, the HVAC on. But is that then draining, some of the other areas as well? And are we really netting a savings? Because it's all.
Honestly, you're no different than any other school district in that regard. Schools are not just schools anymore, they're community centers.
Yeah.
Right? So everybody, Boy Scouts and, every club out there is using these schools, churches on weekends and so forth, running facilities, right? And so that's all scheduled. So they get, opportunity to use the facility with air conditioning. At the same time, yes, and particularly with the schools we're talking about, the individual package air conditioning equipment on these schools, you can shut off the portions of the facility that they're not using and just use the portion that you are. And with regard to temperature, I'll just give you a quick, overview of how they can adjust the temperature. Where this is set, they'll be set on the computer for a particular, say, 75 degrees for cooling.
Excuse me, sir. If you speak a little closer to the microphone.
So let's say the district standard is 75 degrees or 76 degrees, whatever you guys decide is the district standard for a classroom. Then you get this selected with this adjustment here that allows you plus or minus, say, 2 degrees. So there is temperature adjustment in the space.
And that would be in each space?
In each space. You have one right there.
Well, I know there's, in the CTE building, the high school has them. The high school has it. Let me just finish real quick.
Yeah, I'm done.
I've been through some of those CTE rooms that have these controls, that are full of computers and full of kids. Those rooms were so hot that if I were a teacher, I would not be able to teach in there, and yet they could not change that control. So that's my concern. We put all this money into it, and it still will not.
Yeah, CTE building does not really talk about the computer levels.
The graphics.
It's in the building.
Oh, 100
Yeah. So that's my only concern with putting this money in. There's still no guarantee that that's going to be worked out. That's my concern.
So you
that's an issue we've been working with the architect for the actual units that we think we're not positive and then units were oversized for those computers. then computers came in, I believe just this year, and they were kind of large screens and they generate a lot of heat. So that's something that we're going back and forth with, trying to look at what was designed, what was actually there. So, and we continue to increase the size of something that needs to be done for those particular computer ones.
And the system will maintain whatever it's set for. So if it's set for 76, and that's your standard, that's the temperature will be in the space.
Assuming the equipment is sized properly, the ductwork's done, installed correctly, all the other things work correctly.
There's a lot of variables.
But that, the control system doesn't compensate for dirty filters or broken condenser fan motor or undersized equipment or pinched off ductwork, things like that. It can't do that. That's not what the control system does.
But what it can do is turn it off when it's not required.
So then another issue that might come up is what happens if a teacher needs to stay after hours or something like that, right? Which I know they do. They come in early, they work late. There's a button here that you can push, and when you press this button, it extends it at runtime. Typically, most districts set this for 2 hours. You can set it for an hour or 3 hours, however long you want. So it allows them or custodians or someone that's in the space, push the button and it lowers the set point down to $2.
That's just where you see it.
Right, and I understand the savings that can come about with this, but from what I'm understanding at this point then, a lot of our issues have to do with equipment and ventilation. Am I correct on that?
No, I mean, most of it is just, there's just a few rooms that we're having problems with.
Well, but in the elementary schools, not every room has control. It's on a zone. And that zone is not necessarily, one room can be next to it and be perfect, and the other one can be freezing. And that's not a control issue from what I'm understanding then. It's more of
No, there could be one air conditioning unit that can heat 3 rooms. So you can have the thermostat could be in one room, and it could be fine, but the other 2 rooms could have 60 kids in it. And it's not going to know that that room is extra hot because thermostat
Right,
in another room that's cool.
but would this fix that is what I'm asking. Because it sounds more like, you know.
Potentially it would, because here's what happens. Every room is on a system. It is reviewable. You pull it out, you can see what the temperature is. One of the things that we don't know is how small our staff is. It's even how those rooms are operating. But if we have the information, we can go out and start adjusting and fixing those things. What we don't have right now is not even the information. We don't even have the ability to get the information if the room's running hot, if there's some air circulation that isn't happening, some outside air is not coming in. But what this system can do is tell us all that. We can bring it right up, diagnostic, kind of soft tools, and then we can go out and correct it. We can't do that now. I mean, and for instance, it's a tool that that can help us in a lot of different ways. And
the system's capable of a couple other things briefly. One is you can set trend logs up in here so you can monitor the temperature of the room over time. Another thing is it can send you an alarm on Gordon's workstation that tells him there's a problem in his space, maybe before the teacher even knows it. And then thirdly, to address the issue that you're mentioning about the different rooms, when you have isolated cases like that that's been identified, you can put a sensor in each room and you can average those sensors so every room gets a vote. You can do that with this system. It's not going to do that, for every single room in every, space. But when you identify a specific problem, like Gordon mentioned, you can use the controls to help you.
Yeah, we have that situation in our back computer lab where we have 2 stats and they're all together to average out. Instead of having 1 stat by together.
I'm sorry, Mr. And who would have control of this? I mean, I know that the teachers can adjust that for a very brief time, but would the principals have access to control that? So if they knew something was going on in their school that night, they could increase that? Or
Right now, usually it's done through a school leave request, that they would send to maintenance, and then we would do the program from IMS or remote location.
And that includes lighting as well?
It could be tied to the system, could be tied to the lighting, where it could be set into a motion, or if you walk in with the air conditioning on, along with the lights.
Parking lights?
Parking lot lights, it could be added on, with just another module for adding to the system.
But the school administrator would not have access to this or control over this?
So,
So they could,
The
because
system
then
is
we.
certainly- The system is certainly capable of all of that.
Okay.
It's just strictly up to the district of what they want and who they want to have access.
But this proposal you've given us says it does not, it excludes lighting and control.
So this is just for the HVAC?
HVAC controls. The other modules can be added at a later time, but infrastructure will be in place to add.
That would cost more, correct?
Yes.
They have that more?
Yes.
Okay, and so I have another question. What's the lifespan on something like this?
Maintenance.
And maintenance, yeah.
Maintenance is pretty minimal, to be honest with you. Actually, the lifespan, systems run about 15, would you say, 20 years before they're obsoleted, you know? So, when we've got systems in there still running, you know, we've been in there for 15, 20 years.
You have about warranty or?
Just the life cycle of the system from the beginning to end, not warranties.
The materials that we have say that we can expect a 20 to 30% decrease in our energy costs.
In your air conditioning.
In air conditioning.
Air conditioning comprises about 60% of the building's consumption, and then lighting is probably 30%, and then the rest is, you know, refrigerators and things like that.
So if we don't do the lighting, what would you anticipate our savings be from a percentage standpoint?
Air conditioning, on the air conditioning standpoint, I think if we could count on, I hate to use the word guaranteed, but I say guaranteed 20% based on just scheduling alone. On top of that, you get temperature management, centrally located. Honestly, another big part of it, from my experience, has been how much does the school board administration back up the policies? A lot of people that turn the temperatures down when they call and complain, or is that, you know, a lot of that's policy driven. So, you know, some of that stuff is all, you know, depends on the district.
And obviously there are multiple variables that go into this equation. Also obvious is the staff's and the board's concerns for saving money, so I'm not worried about us not maintaining and following policy to make sure that it's as efficient as possible.
One other quick note is, you know, we talk about M&O money, expenditures and so forth. You know, every time these guys get a call right now, they have to get in the truck and go out and find out what's wrong with it. Right now, you know, with this system, they can sit at a computer and virtually scan the entire school district, you know, and get alarms and so forth, and troubleshoot the system remotely, rather than dispatching a truck from this side of your district to this side to this side.
So a couple more questions. Just to clarify, then you guarantee us a 20% savings on our energy bill?
Well, like I said, I hate to use the word guarantee because I'm not in control of the system once we install it.
Right, there are variables, so you have to have trust in the board.
Right, but based on what I've seen from him and how he manages the system, I think that's a fair assessment, 20%.
Okay, so you guarantee 20%?
On air conditioning. We're not controlling lights, we're not controlling, you know, all the other electrical devices in the building. But in air conditioning mode, I think that's a very conservative estimate.
So 60% of our bill is air conditioning, so
I think it's higher than that, period. It's higher than that. And the other thing is, every year we get rate increases. So every year our expenditures go up. So what we need, we can't control the rate increases, but we can control the use. So the rate increases don't take more money out of M&O that would be used for teacher salaries. Instead, it's going out to pay for utilities.
So, given the fact that this includes lighting, it isn't controlled by the system and so forth, what percent of savings can you guarantee? What do you feel comfortable with? If 20 is not the number.
On your electric bill, the total bill, I can't say. I honestly can't guarantee it, because again, we're not in control of the system. I think that the information I've given you about turning the air conditioning off on holidays, Monday, you drive around, you'll see all your air conditioning going to be running. I mean, it's just logical that you're going to save 20% on your energy just based on shutting it down on the holidays, there's winter break, there's spring break, and so forth. That's a given.
Yeah, but what we can show you is what we've done with other districts. You know, the energy savings, the total energy savings we've done with other districts. And that's, you know, in some cases exceeded 30% off the total. It's just, it all determines on how existing facilities are operating.
Right.
If they're operating very efficiently right now, the savings are going to be more 10 or 15%. If they're running very inefficiently, then your savings are going to be more like 30%.
Those are 3 schools to do that way.
So the answer to the guarantee question is 0 or 10%, 15%?
Guarantee, 10% guarantee. Most likely, this all depends on how the buildings are running now. And the only way to really do that analysis is to pay an ESCO to come in here and go through every single piece of equipment. And
If you look at it now, how it is when school gets out on Thursday, it takes maintenance department roughly 2 to 3 weeks to go to every school and readjust all that for summer temperatures. And then you also have a problem when we have people who are working, like working on shampooing carpets and stuff, that we had to send a maintenance guy out again to maybe adjust one section or one wing of the school to be able to work in. And then the same thing when school starts up again, we're 2 to 3 weeks beforehand.
Does the $110,000 include labor savings, or is it just the energy?
It's just going to be energy, and we get a lot of savings and go out to all the schools.
Okay, and our total cost is what, $335? Is it 3? What was the number?
Thank you. The proposal for finishing the high school, Maricopa, Wells Elementary School, Desert Winds, and Butterfield is $335,000. That's
Okay, so
what we wanted to do is test those schools first to make sure and they're the highest users, and then come back another time, funds available, and finish the rest of the schools. So that was a way to not have to do the entire project.
Okay, we just finished it. My assessment is that this project is going to cost us $335,000 out of our capital fund, and we're going to save out of M&O $110,000 plus unknown labor costs. Guarantee we save 10% of our electric bill. This thing's going to pay for itself in 3 years.
Well, that's
This
what
is
we're doing.
right. Short answer is this is a no-brainer in my opinion.
Okay, well, wait, I have a question for Aaron. The money is coming from the 06 bond, correct?
Right.
Okay.
On cells.
Well, I was around then, and we've had this conversation before. That bond was not passed for this, and there are still projects that were originally on that bond that have not been done. So if we start spending little pockets here and there, and all of a sudden the money's not there again to finish the high school gym and to relocate the ropes course that was never relocated for 5 years now. So why should we believe it now that this money is going to be there to finally finish the projects that were originally put in? This was not put on that original bond proposal.
And not being here in 2006, I provided you the bond pamphlet.
Yes.
And so everything on the bond pamphlet is, and that's what the board has voted on. So the detail, there might have been discussions about those types of things, but for instance, they didn't put on the bond pamphlet ropes course or particularly gyms. So
No, but when they went and talked to the community.
Okay, but I'm trying to answer your question. So legally, the bond pamphlet is what we have to adhere to. We talked about, we could have our legal counsel come and talk to you about that. So.
And they have. But the thing is, Aaron, ethically, I don't think it looks really good for our school district when we're trying to improve our trust in this community to not go back and finish what we originally said we were going to do 5 years ago. I'm very leery that those projects are ever going to be finished, because every year it's, oh yeah, there's something else. So I'm a little frustrated at this point to be able to spend that money now.
If those projects had web-based control systems in them originally, then that money would have been spent. You know, for instance, the high school did, some of the buildings had it, but they could have, back then, instead of taking manual controls, which my understanding is they had web-based controls, but then they took them out of the projects at the last minute, so you got to engineer them out. I don't know why, it wasn't here. And then you got an inefficient control system, so it could have been put in.
My understanding is that the ropes course is in the process of being, is going to be evaluated and it's going to get done, right? Is that, can you?
Well, that's what we've been
Dr.
told.
Conley, she heard yes. Would you affirm that, please?
In talking with our facilities committee that we now have established, working with the high school, we are moving forward with that. I also know that we've met with the business department. We are receiving reports from the trust as well. Looking at what the high school staff has stated, it's very positive. And we have inventoried the materials. It's now, we know exactly where all the materials are, so we are moving forward with that.
Earlier in the meeting, we were looking for $250,000 from the funding ferry to re-add the raises. This would make it $360,000. I would have no problem at all if we're worried about the fulfilling our obligation to the taxpayers of having a conversation about the return on investment of their tax dollars. I can't think of anything more appropriate than this investment that is going to save us hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a good use of funds, in my opinion.
But it's still just estimated. It's not a guarantee.
I personally, I see that, that you've only asked for a number of schools because you want to see how this works out, and that makes sense. Like anything else we try, we put it in a pilot program first. Personally, I would just like to see the high school done and see how it works. That's our largest campus. It's not that much money compared to some of the other, and to see what we actually realize in savings. I just, it's a big chunk of change to be spending on something we don't know if it's going to fix some of the problems. I believe some of the problems that we already have probably have to do with the way we set up our evaluation of those buildings we built.
So maybe we should spend the bond money to get those.
Yeah.
We're air conditioning buildings on holidays. Mr. Urban, you've been very patient. Please.
I move approval of item J.
There's a motion on the floor to approve item J. Is there a second? I'll second the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Roll call. Mr. Irving?
Aye.
Mrs. Carla Burnett?
Nay.
Mrs. Gutray?
Nay.
Mrs. Anderson?
Nay.
And I am an aye. Motion fails. Thank you, Mr. Roush. Thank you, gentlemen. Is there a motion to move to executive session pursuant to ARS 15-843E?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. It is 8:17. We're back in open session, and our final item is to Discuss and approve the resignation on item 16 and separation agreement on 63. Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion is made by Mr. Irving, seconded by Mrs. Anderson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Nay. Motion carries 4-1. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 8-18.
Yeah, we need to do